Hello again. Today we're going to be adding and subtracting unlike fractions. Remember, like fractions are those with the same denominator and unlike fractions are those with different denominators. What happens when you have to add or subtract fractions? Look at these examples. I have an addition here. I have 1/5 plus 2/5, and I just go ahead and add the numerators and my denominator stays the same. It's the same with the subtraction. I just use, or I only use the numerators and my denominators stay the same. So in order to add or subtract fractions, they need to have the same denominator. You cannot add or subtract fractions with different denominators. And that's when it comes useful to know how to amplify or simplify fractions. So check that video about equivalent fractions. Now, adding on like fractions, I have, for example, this, add 1/3 to 5/9. As you can see, these pieces are not the same as these pieces. These portions are smaller than these other portions, so I cannot just add them. I have to find equivalent fractions. Here, you're gonna look at the denominators and try to check if you can amplify the smaller denominator into the bigger or the greater denominator. So I have to multiply this number 3 into any other number in order to get number 9. What number do I need to use? Yes, I can multiply 1/3 by 3, and I will get a denominator that's 9. Remember, you have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator to amplify and find equivalent fractions. Now, I already amplified my fraction, so instead of using 1/3, I'm going to be using 3/9. As you can see, 1/3 plus 5/9 is now 3/9 plus 5/9, and I only have to add the numerators. 3 plus 5 equals 8, and my denominator stays the same. Let's check another example. Find the sum of 2/5 and 3/10. Again, can I amplify my smaller denominator into my greater denominator? Yes, I can. I can multiply 5 times 2 and I will get 10. That's what I'm going to do. And 2/5 is now 4/10. And I do my little operation here, my addition. And instead of using 2/5 plus 3/10, I'm going to be using 2/10 plus 3/10. Add the numerators. 4 plus 3 equals 7, and my denominator stays the same. Easy peasy. What about a subtraction? We're going to do exactly the same. I have here, subtract 7/12 from 5/6. When we're talking about subtraction, it means that I'm going to take away a piece of something. If I want to take away 7/12 from my 5/6, I don't know what portion that will be because this is divided differently. So what are we going to do is exactly the same as we did with addition, is we're going to try to convert the smaller fraction into the greater fraction by amplifying. In this case, I'm going to multiply by 2 because I know that 6 times 2 equals 12, and 12 is the denominator that I'm looking for. That's the one I need. So I go ahead and I do that, and my 5/6 are now not 5/6, they became 10/12. And I can subtract. Remember that you get taking this one from this one. So This one is going to be first in your operation, and then you can go ahead and do it. 10 12 minus 7 12, 10 minus 7 equals 3, and the denominator stays the same. Now I have a whole. This whole hasn't been divided into any parts. I have to find the difference between 1 whole and 3/4. But this is not a fraction. This is a whole. Now, anytime you have a whole, like number 1, it means that your numerator and your denominator are the same number. Okay? If they're the same number, in this case, 1 is the same as saying 1 out of 1. 1 out of 1 is the same as saying 1. But I need this to have a 4 as a denominator. Okay? Since I need this to have a 4 as a denominator, I have to amplify the fraction, and that'll be easier because I just need to multiply by 4. And I get 1 times 4, 1 times 4, and my number 1, or my 1 whole, is now 4/4. Okay? And now I can go ahead and subtract 4/4 minus 3/4. 4 minus 3 equals 1, and my denominator stays the same. Remember, guys, that when you add and subtract fractions, you only use the numerators. You do not add or subtract the denominators that are going to stay the same. So since you need the denominators to be the same, sometimes you're going to need to find equivalent fractions before adding and subtracting fractions. In this case, when you have unlike fractions, you need equivalent fractions before adding or subtracting them. And that's it for today. See you later, alligator. Or see you in the next video.